What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today I want to talk to you about SoFi. I want to give you an overview of what is happening, what's causing it to pull back, what the data points are currently saying, and where I see things going from here. Before I get into any of that, make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So currently it is down 6.51%, a lot of volume, so 15.2 million shares being traded, 24 is the average, and that is within the first around 2 hours of the trading day. There was no SEC filing today. There was a press release though, just stating a long-term partnership was created between SoFi and MRW. So I think this is fairly good based on this news. It looks like it's very much oriented towards golf, if I do understand that correctly. And it looks like they're going to be having a SoFi Center, which does look absolutely remarkable. And that's going to be built at the Palm Beach State College. So I think pretty good stuff. When it comes down to SoFi, there's also a lot of fear that's happening on a larger scale to the market because of the treasury yields. So a lot of people are worried about the foreseeable future, especially the 10-year is at massive all-time highs. Well, not all-time, but multi-year highs, of course. And then even to make things worse, unfortunately, there is just a lot of fear coming out and a lot of articles associated to SoFi just saying that it's too risky. They're bringing up as far as the whole student loans being pushed up until October, and then as well just the broader uncertainty, just inflation and many things like that that's just going to affect its members and just the growth. So once again, make sure you guys always do your own due diligence because as well, I'm not a financial advisor. But the latest analyst rating that did come down the pipeline from Piper Sandler was a $9 price target. So clearly not everyone is very bearish on SoFi. Clearly, a lot of analysts still really do like them, with the exception of Compass Point, which I've never really heard of, and they do only have a 41% success rating, so obviously take that with a grain of salt. And then there was Morgan Stanley and Wedbush, so good old Wedbush. So once again, let me know your thoughts. As far as options activity, I'll go over some of the data points. Currently, there's around $2.44 million in calls being purchased versus 1.78 million in puts. So based on this information, people are anticipating for it to still trend up, but if you do compare this information to previous days, there is a substantial increase in puts. So that does mean people are anticipating for it to continue to trend down. If you are optimistic though, this shows the open interest, and as it stands with this upcoming expiry date of October the 6th, it is anticipated to be between roughly around the 8 to 8.50 range, and if you are negative, it is anticipated to be sub around $7. So a little bit more of a further downtrend. As far as this, these are some of the transactions that have occurred on the secondary market over $100,000. So 1.2 million, and it looks like about a lot of the smaller transactions. So despite the volume for today being relatively high so far, the number of transactions, it's just a lot of smaller transactions rather than big money getting in. These are some of the transactions that have occurred on the dark pool. So as it stands right now, there has been no transactions on the dark pool, which is kind of weird. But I'll give you an overview of what shorts are doing because that is linked to obviously dark pool and many things like that. And just to start off, as you can kind of see based on this, there is a lot of support when it comes down to SoFi versus very little resistance. So in theory, if good things do come SoFi's way and I guess the broader fears just kind of go away as well, essentially I do feel that big things could be coming for SoFi, as I always say. But no matter what, when it comes to SoFi, you are investing in the long term. Don't worry so much about the short term. And unfortunately, even when I do videos such as this, it is just more so talking on the short term, what is going to be coming in possibly the next month, versus you should, in reality, not a financial advisor once again, but you should be thinking long term, years from now and so forth. Short score is currently 58.55, utilization is 27.81, and just once again for transparency, I only bring this up as a benchmark, not necessarily because I feel like it's going to be a squeeze. So just be aware of that. Shorts are currently returning around 48,000 shares, 12.25% of the free float is being shorted, 103.32 million shares overall are being shorted, and cost to borrow average is currently 1.8. So the fact that they are returning on a red day, it does show that they feel that it's a little bit more over exaggerated a little bit and maybe not necessarily justified. And as I did indicate, I think last video, it was around the 14% range. I do feel that shorts are still going to continue to leave SoFi, especially as the next earnings does come right around the corner. So it'll probably continue to lower it until it does get to around the 10% range. But when it comes down to this, I'll give you a quick overview. So when it comes down to the upcoming earnings, as you can see, currently there is about 16 analysts with a consensus of negative 7 cents per share. And based on revenue, I'm also going to be continuing to monitor this just to see if any analysts do change. But it looks like one analyst did recently up their rating. So there was previously 13, now there is still 13. So obviously an analyst recently upped it because it did go from 512.83 million as far as the potential revenue that's anticipated for Q3 to 513. So once again, I think that's a fairly good thing in my opinion. But as far as what is coming next, so on the actual chart, it is lower percentile of the Bollinger Band and also below the 100-day moving average. So generally the technicals aren't looking the best right now. And as far as looking at some of the fib levels, with it currently at $7.32, it is trading between this S2 and this S1. So $7.49 is going to be that next strong resistance, and $7.06 is going to be that next strong support. So it is just kind of going to be wedge bound between these 2 points until something either does break. And coming from a larger standpoint, there isn't really any data points coming out up until Friday, and that's linked to consumers to give SoFi some justified reason to trend up. So I do feel that most likely, at least in the short term, it might be touching this 706 range, and then hopefully from there it'll be bouncing off of that and trending higher. Based on what SoFi has been offering from their last couple of earnings, I do not feel the $6 range is justified, but then again, who am I to judge, right? So let me know your thoughts. Do you think that SoFi is going to be trending back down to the $6 range, or do you think that it's going to bounce off of the 7 and trend back to 8? What's your kind of viewpoint? And do you think that any of this is justified, or do you think, like, what's your viewpoint? Do you think the market's going to go through a massive recession, or what's your viewpoint? So with all that, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And give yourself a shout out if you have been buying over the last little bit or selling. So what have you been doing? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up, like I said. And with that said, I appreciate all of you watching. If you do like my channel as well and want to support the growth, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below and also the comments. But with that said, I appreciate all of you watching.